Welcome to the next episode of LatProXperience, where we talk about the entrepreneurial success through the Latino lens. My name is Antonio Muñiz, and I'm super happy and excited to have the opportunity to have an amazing guest today. He's a great friend. We've known each other for a long time, a successful entrepreneur, Latino entrepreneur, el señor Pablo Prahl. Pablo, great to see you, my friend. I'm glad that you made some time for me today.
Of course. Thank you very much, Antonio. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Of course, it's always great to see you. We've had amazing conversations before. And in fact, we've even said, hey, we should have you as a guest in our podcast so you can just tell everyone what you told me. So again,
Yes,
the intention,
no.
absolutely. And this is a great opportunity for us to do that. You know, the intention for these episodes is to showcase entrepreneurial success, Latino entrepreneurial success, to accomplish two things. Number one is show the example of what is possible. Another example of what is possible. People are succeeding, having
Yeah,
success. And number two, encourage people and give people another reason to do more, another reason to take their profession, their expertise, their business to the next level, closer to their full potential. So
I love it.
I love the fact that we're here. So want to just catch everybody else up and tell us a little bit about Pablo. Who is Pablo?
Pablo, who is Pablo? That is a great question I had to answer myself. So I'm originally from Guatemala. I came here 14 years ago. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So, yeah, so 100% Latino, I love mi gente. It has been a great journey to be here in the States. And I do marketing. It has been marketing and sales. It has been my background. Back in Guatemala, I was working with advertising agencies. And when I came here, I decided to continue my route on entrepreneurship. So that's my background. I'm married. Jennifer, my wife, works with me, and I have two boys, Adrian and Gabriel. That's why the name of the company is A&G Marketing, because of my two boys, Adrian
Yeah.
and Gabriel, but in English, Adrian and Gabriel.
Adrian y Gabriel, those are the names.
Yes, yes,
Absolutely. Somebody told me a long time ago, you do not translate names. Like, my name is Antonio. It's not Antonio. It's not Anthony. It's Antonio. So,
it's Antonio.
so
Exactly.
tell me
Yeah.
a little bit. That's right. That's right. So tell me more about, your entrepreneurial journey. Is that something that you always wanted to be? You always wanted to be an entrepreneur, or that's something that evolved within you?
I believe, great question. I believe that it evolves, when you're working. I started working very young, like I started working in something similar to Blockbuster when I was like 14. And I work all my way there, even to be the manager of one of the stores. And then you start learning about different things, right? Like about management, about sales. Um, Guatemala is a small country. So when you like have different jobs and everything, like usually you try to do your own thing. So I believe that is a little bit of both, right? Like you start working, and if you have that culture of work, then
Hmm.
entrepreneurship gets impregnated in you automatically, because then you start reading, you start listening and seeing other people, and that's how I started
Yeah.
young.
So you started young. You got the interest. Now here you are. You're not in Guatemala anymore. You're in the
Hmm.
U.S. You're in Florida, based out of Florida.
Yes.
And so tell us about that. Tell us. I mean, you said you're in marketing, advertising, etc. Tell us about your business.
So going back again, like when I was started, when I started the business back in Guatemala, I was 26. I was about to get married to Jenny. I was working in, like I told you, like for me, my sister was working in advertising agencies. She was very young. We are 10 years difference. So she was always hiring me, to do that type of jobs, like, hey, I need more sand for this advertising agency, or I need this, or I need that. So like all the props, right? That's what I meant. And for different ads, and I started to liking it. Like I really love it, and that's why I decided to go into college. And I was about to do well. I did communication science, but in the middle of the career, I started noticing about the graphic design, the print, that part that it was not that in front of the camera as that much. And I love that side a lot. When I enter, I'm not a graphic designer, but when I enter one day, I remember that I opened the door and I see all the graphic designers working in the ads. I was like, oh my goodness, what is it that they're doing?
Mm.
So that's how the little bug started on me on the marketing side. I finished communication science, but I started a small graphic design firm in Guatemala when I was 26.
So that was the genesis, right? The
Yes, that was the
beginning,
genesis. Yeah,
the
at the
beginning.
beginning. Yeah.
So here you are in Central Florida, and you have an amazing business. I met you and Jennifer many years ago,
Oh
and
my goodness,
since
more than
then, I
10.
mean, your
Yeah.
your trajectory has been like this, and it's not to say that it's been easy because I know how hard you work, you and Jennifer. And but tell us about your business as it stands today, and what problem do you solve for your clients, and who is your client, who
Yeah.
what the problem that you solve, and the people that you serve. Tell us a little bit about that.
So before you, if you let me, when you invited me to this, I really appreciated when you were saying at the beginning to all the Latinos out there to starting something is that right? Like all the books, so sometimes all the podcasts or the YouTube channels and everything, they speak about like the big things, right? Like the 5 million, 10 million, and what you can accomplish. Yet yes, you can accomplish it, but I love this because he starts with zero, right? Like sometimes we
Yeah.
don't have the patience, and when I came from Guatemala, that's how I started, right? Like zero contacts, zero networks, zero clients, and it takes patience. I believe that one of the things is that we have to understand as Latinos that is different from doing business in our countries is that it takes time, but it's also a big reward, right? Like if you work hard, if you're loyal, if you're honest, so you can start from scratch, but you can continue doing it. And that's how I started. I just want to say that because
Hmm.
sometimes we forget about that part.
No, it's
I
important.
started, yes. So when I came here, I tried to replicate or duplicate what I had in Guatemala, and I saw that it was a little bit challenging for me because again, no network, no friends, and so I went the route of a franchise.
Okay.
And because I thought, having a franchise it will be better for me. I have the training, I have some support and some umbrella that I can learn from. So that's how I started. Again, I started 14 years ago. It takes a long time, and I believe that my first year was the whole year was around $75,000 in sales. My first year. Last year we did $2.5 million in sales. So
That's amazing, man.
yeah. So from zero to all of that is possible. If you have the patience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm grateful that you share that with us for multiple reasons. Number one, it's not easy, and anyone tells you that it's easy, they don't have the full story. The second thing is that a lot of people say it takes money to make money. Maybe, but I think what it takes most is the courage
Yes.
to do it, and the patience. You said the magic word, patience. And especially when we come from a different country, when we
Yeah.
come here, we realize that the game is different. It's a bigger game,
Yeah.
and it moves differently. Some of the things that we take for granted in our country. I'm from Puerto Rico, and you're from Guatemala, and some of the things that we take for granted, well, that because they work in our countries, we try to immediately replicate in this marketplace exactly. It doesn't always pan out. It doesn't
Yeah.
always
No.
work the same way because it's a different market and it behaves differently. So it takes courage to understand and humility to understand, hey, I got to do things a little bit differently. I know what I know. I think I know
And
what I
that,
don't know,
yeah.
you know?
And that is important what you just said right now, the humility of saying, okay, you know what, I have to learn more about this, because when different tools, that you can use when you're starting to, as you know, the beauty of these countries that they help you in a lot of different ways.
Hmm.
One that I applied when I started was Prospera, and previously HBIF, and they helped me with in going to the humility part, because the first thing that they told me is that they needed to help me with a marketing plan. And I was like, marketing plan? But I do marketing, How is it that you're going to help me with marketing? But you're right. What they were trying to say is that this is a different country. This is a different world. Guatemala, just for you to have an idea, is not even the size of Maine. So how many Guatemalans can fit in the United States? So
Yeah.
uh, even if you think with your mentality that you can duplicate or replicate, is completely different. And the other, that you mentioned too, to tell you a little story, was never compare yourself with different people. And we're all in different stages, and we have different speeds for our success too, right? And all the businesses are different.
Yeah.
So if you're in construction, maybe you go to 1 million in a couple of months because it's a bigger ticket, right? And if you're doing what I'm doing, my average ticket is $800. So how much do I have to sell to get there? But my point is that in the middle of my career here, I was completely desperate, and I was like, okay, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to continue doing this. And I sit down with the owner of the franchise, Greg Musillo, and he told me, you know what, Pablo? I believe that, because I was telling him that, like, hey, I saw that so and so he came, and now he's selling all of this. He's selling more, double than me, and I'm already 5 years in, right? So he told me, stop comparing yourself with other people, because you don't know if their spouse has a lot of money. You don't know if they have more connections. If he plays golf for 20 years, so he has a lot of his network is huge. So that was a very humbling thing to do. Say, okay, you know what? I have to wait. I have to like they say, right? Like in the military, put your ranks, and
Hmm.
little by little continue growing.
Yeah.
Sorry if I
And
make it a little long, but it was
no,
interesting
no.
for me.
I
Yeah.
think it's important. I think it's important to talk about that because many of us, I shouldn't say all of us, but many of us suffer from that. Like what's going on with me? What's wrong with me that I don't have, that I'm not further
Hmm.
along, that I'm not,
Hmm.
or somebody next to me is, a few miles ahead of me. And
Hmm.
I was taught by an amazing mentor. It says you can compare your chapter 6 to somebody's chapter 16. You don't
Yes.
know where they have been. You don't
Agree.
know what you consider an overnight success. It's really not. Those
Yeah.
things don't really exist. It's just that that person has more time in the business, that have different
Hmm.
access to other resources because of their experience. So it's
Yeah.
not apples to
If you
apples,
and I
right?
we close our business, the businesses that we're doing right now, and we start all over again, it will be faster, right? Do you agree?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
maybe some people are starting a new business, but they have a lot of experience. I didn't have that experience, and
Hmm.
especially in the country. Now I know how to move. Now I know where to go, and I have friends and network, right? So if I start a different business today, it will be. I don't want to say that it will be easy, but it will be easier than previous
Right.
ones. So, yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're a different person. You learn a
yes,
lot of things along the way. Along the way, you have different resources today that you didn't have before. So you mentioned
yeah,
Prospera and how that's this, I mean, there's a very unique organization here to Florida. I mean, granted, they have
yeah,
offices in different states now, but is important is how important is it for entrepreneurs business owners to plug in to organizations like Prospera or different chambers of commerce, wherever their marketplace may be, so they can get connected with all the other entrepreneurs, particularly other Latino entrepreneurs. How important is that?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Super important. I will say that your community, it's everything, right? If I'll have to tell something, to repeat something when I came here was to do the same thing over and over again. That it was getting to know my community, getting to know the associations, what help is available. Latino ain't no Latino, because the beauty of this country is that everybody helps.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that maybe in our countries is not like that, but it's not that accessible that you go to one place and they help you immediately, right? So that's one of the things that I did. I joined the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. That was my first thing. The
Mm-hmm.
first thing, I believe that it was the next week after I came, was to join the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I did my research in Guatemala. I knew that it was important. Then they introduced me to Prospera again when there was a HBIF. Then I started doing the regional, Seminole County. So I did the Seminole
Mm-hmm.
Chamber in associations, right? I will say though that if I have to repeat it, I will repeat it in a different way because a friend of mine, also a coach, basically in sales, told me, Pablo, between networking and not working, there's only one letter difference, right? And what he was trying to tell me is that if you go to all these networking events, you don't have the time to actually do the
Yeah.
work, right? So you have to be careful, but it's super important. To answering your question, Prospera for me has been a blessing because not only the help, but the introduction to other companies that they will use my services and amplify my network.
Yeah.
The same with the chamber, right? With the chambers,
Yeah,
but
100%.
Prospera
And I
is
think
special because of the
this is why I
association that
love
they
our
have
conversations
with other companies. Yeah.
because you said something, the difference in networking and not working is just one letter. And that's something that is new for a lot of us, especially we come from Latin America and we come into the a marketplace and you start hearing networking, 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 but no one really tells you or
Hmm.
shows you the right way of networking. So what a lot of people
Hmm.
end up, I see a lot of people do is they go to all these types of events because they're new and they're exciting and you see a lot of people. Sometimes there's food, sometimes there's drinking involved, and before you know it, you spend a lot of time, energy, and resources drinking and eating with strangers,
Yeah, exactly
and
right.
and no
Yes.
one's really taught you how to network with intention, network in the right way,
Hmm.
and having a purpose to go into these events so
Hmm.
you can grow your business built through relationships. So I see a lot of young or new entrepreneurs going through the cycle of going through all these networking events and then 3 months down the line complaining that they're not getting results. That's
Yeah.
one part of the population. Another part of the population says,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I'm networking, man. I'm growing my business. I'm networking," and but they don't see results, the financial results on their P&L sheet, right? And it's because
Hmm. Yeah.
they're investing their time, energy, but they're not really. They don't know how to work the system. They don't know the rules.
Passing, yeah, passing around business cards is not networking,
Exactly.
right? So you have to learn how to have the intelligent questions, how to follow up. You know how I don't know if this happens to you, but so many times that you talk with someone, you have a great conversation, they tell you about their business and maybe your interest in and they never follow up with you.
Yeah.
So or if they do is on a like pushing,
Hmm.
right? Like it's not a conversation. So yeah, you're right. Like I believe that people should know and have a plan. What is it they want from all these different
Yeah,
associations?
and you learn there are resources when you can learn how to do this, and of course, the more you do it, the better you get.
Yeah,
If you know with clarity what your intention is, what is the intended result of going to networking
yeah,
events or being involved with chambers of commerce or being involved with other organizations like Prospera and others like that. So understanding that you're going through that process, understanding you're going through a cycle,
hmm,
that you came here with zero across the board, right? No people, no money, no
yeah,
business, no
yeah,
clients, to today,
yeah,
14 years later, seven-figure
yeah.
business, a great established brand in the marketplace.
Hmm.
Who is your ideal client? Who do you know? How do you know who you can help?
And that is a great question, because it took me a while also to put it on writing and make sure that we have our ideal client personas, right? That is an
Hmm.
exercise that I recommend everyone to do it, because if you don't know who your client is, you're never going to know how to talk to them,
Exactly.
right? you know when I started with this idea, it was a friend of mine that he was also in sales, and he told me, listen, if you like what do you like, Pablo? He told me, like, you like brunettes or blondes, or what do you like, right? So yeah, brunette, like my wife, and this and that and everything. So if you know what you're looking for, you know where to look for, right? In how you're going to approach that person, for your spouse, or if you want anything, a car or something, right? So the same thing with your clients. So I divided in four. So for me, it's two. They're kind of the same. One is marketing manager, the other one is a marketing
Okay.
coordinator. Usually they already have a plan, they already have a marketing or graphic design in plan, and we just help them execute some of their marketing materials. Then sales managers and HR
Okay.
managers. So that's basically how my four idea, and under that there is more, right? Like ages, and who are they usually, like how they buy, and kind of is never you can never pinpoint. It's always a little bit different, right? But you can see strategically what their personalities are and things like that. So
Yeah.
yes, I that's the four that I
And
have.
is an exercise, right? It's something that we should all do, regardless of size of our business, to understand who do we serve, really, the problem that we solve, and the people that we serve. And you clearly have those
Yeah,
targets very defined. And then the problem that you solve, perhaps
yeah,
they have an idea, but they need help with execution, right? They have an idea for
yes,
printing material or signage or promotional items, but you help them with
yeah.
the execution, correct?
That's correct. And you can apply that for your ideal client persona, and you can apply that for your niche market as well. So in my case, my personal recommendation is not to have only one niche. Like, for example, in our case, we have four industries that we serve a lot. That is construction, healthcare, education, and financial. But we have a little bit of everything
Right.
else. It's a little bit of a mix. But what we accomplish with that, looking at the past, my mother used to say, if you don't know the past, you tend to repeat it, right? So knowing about the past, like, for example, if something happens to the economy, you just work, let's say, in construction, and construction stops, then your business stops
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mm-hmm.
So have at least a few, like, kind of like your ideal client persona. The same thing for your niche market. So you know that there is some markets that are going to fluctuate, and someday are going to be strong, some they're going to be a little bit down. But your sales are always going to be good because you have a
Yeah,
mix.
yeah. That's a lesson learned, right? You learn that along the way.
Hmm.
Now, understanding that that's a big lesson learned in identifying your client persona, your niches, and how understanding the people that you serve and the problems that you solve. If you when you look back to your career in the U.S.,
Hmm. Hmm.
What is an important lesson? What comes out or stands out as a great lesson that you learn along your journey?
What is a great lesson to, you know, learn for me was learning the language as the main key to belonging to this
Mm,
community. So I will say that my big lesson or my big advice, it will say to be part of the community as much as possible. Learn about, be always a good guest, but treat this as your home,
mm,
right? So learn about your city, your community, your county, how it operates, how does it work? Because as an entrepreneur, sometimes we think that those things are not going to affect us, and especially in my case, coming from Guatemala, that sometimes the government is so up and down that you have a switch that you don't care, right? Like on and off. But in here that is more established, you have to learn how everything
yeah,
operates. So I will say that educate yourself, or trying to educate yourself in learning all of that is super important.
that's
Be part of the
yeah,
community.
that's
Yeah.
a big one. We don't think about. I don't think about it as much, but you're right.
Hmm.
I think you become part of the community by serving the community, understanding the
Hmm.
community, becoming part of it, right? So yeah, you are a
Hmm.
guest, but it's also your home, and you treat it as such, and people respond favorably to that, right?
Yeah. Oh, super favorably. Again, this country has that beauty that when they see that it's a family business, and that you're being here, that you're working, that you put in the hours, they help you out. So it's
So if
amazing.
you could go back to Pablo at 20
Hmm.
years old, you're still in Guatemala,
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
but you learn a lot along the way, not only in your experience in Guatemala, but also your experience here in the US. What would you advise Pablo at 20 years old based on what you know today?
Great question. I will say that start with the end in
Mm,
mind. Like, we start always, or when I started my career, my only thing was the sales part, right? Like, how can I bring more sales? How can I do more sales? And how can I get more clients? And I read on a book one time that you have to be careful not to become a glorified sales rep, right? Meaning that you think that you're an entrepreneur, but you're not an entrepreneur because you just a sales rep that has a little bit more of
hmm.
experience. So processes, how you're going to go to point A to point B, make a plan for everything, not only for your business, right? For your
Hmm.
life, to have a route, like okay, this is what everything has to happen for me to get to this point. I believe that we're always winging it, and it takes more
Yeah,
time. You get tired, you get frustrated, you cry a lot, and but if you have a plan, if you have the what bad can happen, think about the bad things too, right? Like, we always think about the good things, but we don't think about the bad things. Okay, if this doesn't work, what is going to be my next step? So I will say that will be my advice to my young self, to be more prepared from the end
mm,
back, instead of from the front, because then when you're on the go, you have to learn all these
yeah,
things that maybe if you were a little bit more prepared at the beginning, it would be
yeah.
better,
You find
right?
yourself reacting to things versus
Exactly.
anticipating things. That's a great lesson. So knowing that and knowing what you know, what gets you excited? What's your next big goal? What has your attention now, Pablo?
Oh, my big goal now is continue working on the processes. I read a book 2 years ago called Traction, and it talks about is the EOS system for entrepreneurs. and basically what it says is like 6 different things that you have to apply to your business, and it keeps me very exciting. How I can scale my business, and like we were talking at the beginning, how to
Mm-hmm.
duplicate, right, and help other people and pay it forward. For me, it's like being an immigrant, not only to help other Latinos, of course, that is close to my heart, but helping other immigrants. If I can have all the processes in place, so I can dedicate a little bit of myself, even if it's 1 or 2 hours a day to help other people, I will. Is what keeps me
That's
excited.
amazing. I have a really good friend of mine who's mentored me along the way, and he's a lot further along economically, and a few years ahead of
Hmm.
me in
In the
age, right? In
business.
age, he's about 10 years older
Yeah.
than me.
Oh, in
Yeah,
age.
like
Okay.
10
Okay.
years older than me. And he said, "I'm in the phase of my life that is all about impact." And the first
Hmm.
stage was I got to make some money because I'm starving and I need, have a young
Hmm.
family. I didn't finish school. I wasn't a great student. I need to find a way to do that. So he solved that problem through trial and error, really. Then he says,
Yeah.
okay, now I know how to make money. Now I need to build a business to secure a better present and future for my family and those around me.
Hmm.
Now I've done that.
Hmm.
Now it's all about contribution. So and
Yes.
yeah, of course he money matters, right? So he still pays attention to that, but his jam now, what gets him excited is the possibility of contribution, having
Yeah.
someone cross him in an airport and say, hey, tap on the shoulder, because of you, because I've learned this from you, or because I saw that example in you, I was able to do this. That's really the his driving motivation right now.
And it's great you mentioned something of the money is good. Sometimes I also talk with the people like, oh, but I don't want to talk about the money. Talk
Yes.
about the money is good. It's a good push for you to do good things. And in mentors, man, that is a concept. I don't know if in Puerto Rico it's as of course you can have a mentor in every place. I have one of my big mentors back in Guatemala that is still to this date is my father-in-law. But you don't see it as the umbrella of a mentor until you came to the States and you really understand that
Yeah.
concept, right? And that has been a game changer in my life. I have another in the franchise. Scott is his name, and he has been helping me a lot. In kind of like you're saying, right? He's ahead of me in a lot of things, but he's always me giving me great advice. That's why motivates me to pay it forward
Yeah.
somehow.
I think you hit two amazing things, and thank you for being so generous with your time, Pablo. I know you're running a business,
Hmm.
you got a lot of things going on, but you hit you
No,
you
no, of
hit two
course.
things right now that are really hit me across the chest. One is, yeah, the topic of mentorship, because I learned about that here in the US. Now, it doesn't mean that
Hmm.
it did not exist or does not exist in Puerto Rico, but I learned about it
Hmm.
here, and it's more
Hmm.
prevalent. That concept is more prevalent and accepted here in the U.S. So, and it has been a
Hmm.
major contributor to what I've been able to accomplish professionally, personally,
Yes.
spiritually, as
Yeah.
an adult. So that has been a big deal for me. Now, the second thing is the concept of money. I don't know if you were raised this way or not, but I was raised that you don't talk about money. It's rude
Hmm.
to talk about money. It's rude to ask someone,
Hmm.
how's your business? How big is your business today? You know, and
Hmm.
I've learned along the way that there's great value in having those conversations about money. That money is not evil. Money is a tool. That money is a tool that allows you to do X number of things. So, being frank and transparent about money and clear about money and how money works is important. It's important that we
Yeah.
understand and have those
Yeah.
conversations, because a lot of times we say, well, for example, well, Pablo seems to be doing well. I wonder what 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 is the level of financial success that he has been able to achieve, and I wonder if that is possible for me.
Hmm.
Now, if I don't know that Pablo's business is doing seven figures and it took him this many years to get it done, how do I know that that's possible for me? You know?
Exactly. That's exactly. That is the thing that I love about, like you're saying, the mentors and the network of my industry, that they were talking about that since day one, right? Like since I joined. And it was kind of even a healthy thing in sales, right? Like what is the other offices are
Sure.
doing, and how can I accomplish that, and that camaraderie that you talk about it. But if you don't know, and everything is a secret, because as Latinos sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe not in Puerto Rico, but in Guatemala is kind of like more reserved, and yeah, I don't talk
Right.
about that. But in here is so open that I love it. This is what I'm doing, and this is my business, and you can accomplish it, right? I can come to say to someone, this is what I'm doing, and I started from zero, so I know that you can do it. I know that anybody can do it. If I did it, like they say, right? Like if I did it, anybody can. So it's great to talk about money. Like I read a lot Tony Robbins and Gary Vee and all these guys and everything, that they say, yeah, talk about it. Have that number in
Hmm.
mind, because if you don't have a number, is if you don't know what you want to sell or where you want to go for your income or for your sales revenue, if you don't have that number, is
Right.
nothing, right? It's not a goal, it's a
I
wish.
agree. And if you don't share that number with somebody else, how are you going to get somebody to help you? How are you going to get people
Yeah.
aligned with that vision and say, you know what, you want to go from where you are to where you want to, your next step. And I've been to the next step. I know exactly how to get there. I will help you. And how are
Hmm.
they going to know where you want to go and that they can help you get there if you don't tell them what your intention is, how much money? And sometimes
Yeah.
it's what's the next financial level in your business. So I appreciate the fact that we can openly talk about the financial side of an entrepreneurship, because it is important. It is important. And
Yeah.
we need to be more open about it and understand how money works, and what it
Yeah.
takes.
And even to apply it for your business, right? Like how many
Exactly.
transactions you have to do. What is your average ticket? What it takes? How much money are you spending to get a
Hmm.
client? What is the lifetime value of a client? How much is going to buy from
Exactly.
you? For how many years? That is the type of thing that when you started, you don't think about that. Going back to my 20-year-old
Yeah,
self, right? When you don't have a plan, when you don't know all these things, when you don't know all these processes, you're just focusing on one thing, and it's the wrong thing, right? Like lack of cash. For example, Mark Cuban says, a business don't close for lack of sales, but it close for lack of cash, right? So if you don't have that conversation with your accountant, with your partner, with your business partner, you're never going to move forward.
exactly.
So it's super
No, and
important.
I appreciate it. I've learned a lot from this, Pablo. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your openness to having this conversation in public. I know you and I could have this conversation in private, no problem. But the fact
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
willing to share with our audience your story. Everyone has a story,
Yeah. Sure thing.
and being so transparent about your journey and the things that you learn, and that's why I set up this platform, because I want to, again, LatPro Experience is about having examples, showcasing examples of entrepreneurial success, and looking that through the Latino lens, because it's
Yes.
needed. We need to see examples of what's possible, and we need to give our audience and each other the encouragement to take the next step and go strive for that next level of success that we can all
For
achieve.
sure
I will
thing.
tell you, I haven't met anyone who's operating to their potential. We are all operating
Yeah.
below our potential.
Yeah.
So we need to be
Yeah.
around in a community where that is encouraged. that is encouraged to
Yeah.
talk about money, is encouraged to share lessons learned, is encouraged to strive for something bigger without someone saying, "What do you
Hmm.
want? When is enough enough?" Well, enough is enough when I say it's enough,
Yeah.
you know. And
Exactly. We all have different dreams. Don't be average,
exactly,
right? Average is easy.
I would,
Average is
it's
easy.
easy and it's not fulfilling.
So yeah, do the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue. Next one. Okay, what is the next level? What is the next level? And it doesn't have to be monetary all the time, right? Like in right now, I'm about
Mhm.
processes, right? I'm about how can I train better my team? How can I create a better community inside
Yeah,
my office, right? How can we have a better relationships because we have some people who work remote. So how can we make it better? So yeah, man, it's this topic is very interesting and is very passionate. So
absolutely.
anytime.
Absolutely. So I appreciate it again, Pablo. Pablo Prahl, great friend, great colleague. I appreciate you. If you found value in this conversation, the best thing you can do beyond liking and whatever is sharing this content. Sharing this content because we need to
Okay.
get the stories out to more people. It's time to get the word out about the amazing success that a lot of the Latino entrepreneurs are having in North America. So make sure that you look for our podcast, LatProXperience, in pretty much the main platforms: Google, Apple,
Yeah.
Spotify, and of course on the social media channels. Like it, comment, and share it. So, Pablo, again, thank you for spending time with me. I appreciate you. Big hugs to Jennifer. She's amazing as well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Likewise.
and
Likewise, Cynthia.
absolutely. And we'll see you soon.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Antonio. Bye. Gracias.